Um, my name's Chris. I'm a CMMC CCP here at StreamScan. I've helped over 40 companies now get ready for CMMC. We've gone through 10 or 11 assessments with all passing grades. Um, we've done this with multiple companies, different sizes, from 10 people companies to 1,500 people companies. Um, you know, um, we've got a lot of expertise in this field. We are, right in line with what the Cyber AB is given out every month, and this came as kind of a surprise to everybody. Um, it dropped on Monday afternoon. Um, a lot of people were not expecting it. Nobody was warned about this. Not even the C3POs. Like, we spoke to a few. I spoke to, CCAs and lead CCAs, and nobody kind of saw this coming. It was kind of a big shock to everybody. And yeah, so what the requirement now is, so phase two was supposed to start uh, on November 10th. And what phase two was supposed to do was introduce the C3PAO assessments in contracts as of November 10th of this year. Um, we've seen over the last couple of months a lot of primes coming out and mandating it even before. There was L3 Harris in the United States came out and said everybody needs to be certified by the end of this month. A lot of suppliers were saying November 10th, that's our deadline. And it put a lot of strain on the whole system. So the C3 Imperials got really busy really quickly. Nobody was able to get times, and people were asking for uh, delays and extensions and all that stuff to their primes, and it really put a strain on the whole environment, which then got back to the Department of War, and that's when they decided to only suspend the C3PO assessment side of CMMC for 60 days while they do a review. This will give companies more time to get ready and alleviate that stress of running through this summer trying to get everything ready before November 10th. So it does not mean that the C3PO assessments will be gone forever. We spoke to a few of them that don't believe that that's the case, that they will come back. They're just trying to give time for people to get ready. Now, again, we don't know what the Department of War will do and what they will decide, but it is looking like it will come back at a later date, and they'll let everybody know what the timeline is and when they will introduce that back into contracts on a different date. Now, if you have an assessment ready and a date scheduled and you're ready to go, our recommendation is that you still do it. You still go ahead with it, because the consensus in the market is that it's coming back just at a later date, and you're already doing it and you're already ready for it. You might as well just keep going for that. If you don't have a date scheduled, or you have a date scheduled and you think you're going to miss it, push it back. Right now, there's no kind of mandate on the 10th that you need to get it done or anything like that. So you can push it back. Just don't push it back till April of next year, right? It's a little bit far. You want to push it back to January, February, fine. If you can do it earlier, because the same thing's going to happen again. When they announce the new date, everybody's going to try to book meetings and book assessments right before that time, and there's going to be a big rush again whenever they put that date in place. Now, the second side of this is, just because the Department of War decided to delay this, it doesn't mean that your prime doesn't want you to get certified. So C3POs are still doing assessments and they're still giving out certifications. And since the prime is, the owner of the contract, they can mandate anything they want on contracts. So you need to be very careful, and you need to understand what your prime is asking you to do, and make sure that you are in line with them. you don't want to be able to miss out on a contract because you saw that this is a delay, but your prime is still telling you no, you have to do it. The prime is the contract owner, and same as you, if you're passing it down to your suppliers, you can mandate whatever you want in the contract, and you can also force it on your supply chain as well. There's no right or wrong answer. It's really what you guys want to do, right? It's nothing that is forcible right now until CMMC repasses the C3PO mandate on the contracts itself. But again, the prime can do what they want. Also, another note, it doesn't mean that CMMC is gone. It's still in your contracts, and it has been in your contracts for the last 10 years since the end of 2016. So these mandates, these DFARS clauses have been in those contracts for years, and they've not gone away, which still means you need to be compliant to the NIST 800-171, and you need to give your SPRS scores, and you have to self-attest, and you have to follow all the rules that are in your contract in those DFARS clauses. So if you have anything like DFARS, it's 252, 204, no, 204, 252, 204, 7012, 7019, 7020. The 7021 is the one that's being kind of stopped a little bit as they go forward with the new rules. But the 7021 is the one that mandates CMMC in the levels, and the rest of them tell you, hey, you need to be compliant to NIST 800-171 revision 2, and then you need to say that yes, we're doing it, and every time you sign a contract, it means that you're compliant to that. And at any moment, the Department of War and the Department of Justice can come and check and say, hey, are you actually doing it? What's your score? Show us proof, just like an assessment, right? And when they call, they don't give you 6 months to prepare. They give you 30 days. So if you have contracts with these clauses in them, you need to keep working on CMMC because you've signed and said that you are doing CMMC and you're compliant to NIST 800-171. So those are things that we're still telling all our customers and everybody we're meeting that you still need to do the work, even though you don't need to do the assessment right away. You need to prove, and you need to be able to prove it to the government that you are compliant to CMMC and to the NIST 800-171, even if you're not going to pass an assessment right away. But again, the second they announce the dates and the second they announce when this is going to come into effect, the same thing is going to happen. Everybody is going to book the week before, 2 weeks before that date, and then it's going to book up just like it did now. So keep working on what you're doing. But it doesn't mean that you need to rush and get everything done by November unless you have a clear mandate from your prime. But you still need to continue doing the work because CMMC is not going away. And we just don't know what's going to happen with the assessment side. If there's any questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Oh, yes, this one. Are there any advantages in seeking a C3PO certification at this time? So yes, there is. So there is companies that are already certified. And what happens is that they don't become risks to their supply chain. So when the primes are coming in to check who is doing CMMC, who's ready, who's not ready, you don't end up as a risk to that prime. And we've seen it in the past, and I think it's one of our best success stories. One of our customers that got CMMC certified quite early. And what happened is that prime, gave them more business and then passed them off to different divisions, and they actually tripled their business because they were already certified. They weren't a risk at any point to their supply chain, so they actually tripled their business because getting CMMC. They got that certification. I believe it was October. Was it October of last year? I believe October, November of last year. So they did it really, really early, and because of that, they weren't a risk to their prime supply chain, and they were able to deliver on any future contracts. So they just kept feeding them more and more stuff, which was perfect for them, and they were really happy about it. Another question. What have we heard? What have we heard from the primes, and how are they addressing this update to their supply chain? Yeah, so we heard from one C3PO that told us that the primes are apparently now all getting together and trying to come out with a solution that works for everyone, even without the Department of War and nobody else. They're just trying to say what's the best option for everybody and come out with the right date. Um, some of them that had mandates, on the 10th, have, I haven't seen any come out, but they're talking about removing it, and saying, okay, we're going to wait and see what's going on. A lot of them are in talks together and just trying to figure out, hey, should we move this and mandate everybody for, January 1st or early February, or, by Q1 2027, something like that. Is they're trying to find a real date to say, hey, we're going to give you a bit more time to get this done. And hopefully that helps a lot of companies. The other side of this is, there's some primes out there and some people out there who think about it in a different way. Is, this has been in contracts for about 10 years. And a big point of this was, hey, the cost of getting into it was quite high. And the cost of certification is not cheap either. It's impossible for us to do it. But people are now saying, well, hey, you've been doing this for 10 years, you've been profiting for 10 years on defense contracts. You can't really turn around and say, we can't do this anymore. You've been doing it for 10 years. You've been saying you've been doing it for 10 years. So there's quite a big debate going on right now between who's right and who's wrong. And I don't think there's a real answer to that. It's just, this was in the contracts. People were not really aware of what it was. There was no training on it. Nobody knew what CMMC was in 2016. There's people today who still don't know what CMMC is, and they're working in defense. There was a big mismanagement of information over the last, multiple years. So this is a big shock for a lot of companies that, hey, all of a sudden we have to do this, but it's not actually all of a sudden. It's been in the contracts for more than 10 years, and they're just learning about it now. So it's kind of been a big shock to everybody that they paused it because of that. But again, they're gonna address it in a better fashion and a better manner, just because they were getting a lot of complaints and a lot on the C3PO side too. They're saying like, hey, we don't have enough room to get people in, and they have, mandates from their primes they need to get done before, and what do we do, and how do we go forward with this? And the Department of War took this all together and decided like, okay, hey, like, let's pause this for 60 days. Let's figure it out. Let's get people's input. I know now they've reached out to the Cyber AB, they've reached out to the C3PAOs, and they're getting a list of lead CCAs in place to see what are we going to do, what are the next best steps, how should we approach this, and then they're going to come out with a huge press release and say these are the new rules coming up over the next 60 days or next couple of months, whenever they decide to do it. So another question: have we heard anything that would suggest this pause might affect the CPCSC? So I haven't heard anything on that. I don't think it will cause a pause to CPCSC, since CPCSC is still quite behind. They still haven't come out with their level 2, rules. They don't have assessors. They don't have, anything concrete yet. So what it might do is it might maybe delay a little bit while they figure out what's going on. They see how it affects the United States, and how it's going over there. They might decide to take a different approach, so they might, delay the start dates or things like that. But the other side of it too is, I believe it was last week, the CMMC, and the government said, hey, here's Rev 3 is coming, which CPCSC is based on. And now if you're doing the same certification, Canada and the US, you might not have to, there might be reciprocity, back and forth, now that it's the exact same certification on both sides. So this is all quite new for everyone, and we haven't heard anything from the Canadian government that would suggest that there would be a pause. I don't think there would be. I think they're just going to see what the US does and not make the same mistakes that they did, and by just kind of pushing this through quicker than everybody was ready, and um, make sure that everybody has more than enough time to get that done. Now they've rolled out level 1 here in Canada and for CPCSE, and it's, I know there's people that have gone through it. Some people are not doing it yet. They're waiting to be told to get it done. People are jumping ahead and doing it. Um, it's just really kind of all over the place while they're figuring out level 2 and how they're going to get through level 2, uh, especially now that they see what happened in the US and they had to pause it because of the strain on the whole ecosystem. Let's see, any questions coming through? Please, if you have any questions, anything with CMMC, anything, doesn't have to be about this news, could be anything you want to know. Just please, let me know. I'm here to answer your questions. Okay, doesn't seem like we have any questions, so I'll be here if you have any questions while people are leaving. You know, please write them in the chat if you want to talk. You guys know where to find us. Yeah. Thank you guys. Have a great day.